Today, we're diving into a really fascinating and often misunderstood topic, cold electricity. You might have heard this term in discussions about fringe science or even in some old electrical engineering texts. But what is it really? A new type of energy, a myth, or something else entirely? Let's break it down. The phrase cold electricity mostly comes from the later experiments of the legendary Nikola Tesla and other early 20th century inventors. They observed electrical effects that were just weird. They weren't like the hot electricity that powers our homes. For instance, they could run lamps or motors without the wires heating up. They saw glowing discharges at low current but incredibly high voltage, and fields that could give you a jolt but wouldn't burn you. Tesla himself had other names for it, like radiant electricity or non-Hertzian currents. He was convinced he was onto something new. So, from a modern physics perspective, is there a secret, cold form of electricity? Well, the short answer is no. Cold electricity isn't a separate kind of energy. Instead, it has a way of describing specific electrical phenomena usually involving high voltage and low current that don't create much heat. Think of it like this. A high voltage spark ionizing the air creates a beautiful blue-purple plasma glow. We call this a corona discharge. It looks like cold light because there's very little current actually flowing. Another example is pulsed DC energy. By rapidly switching the current on and off, you get these high voltage peaks without much overall power, so things stay cool. It is all about energy being transferred through electric fields rather than through a steady flow of current pushing through a wire. This is where we get into the more experimental and sometimes fringe side of things. Inventors like Ed Gray and Thomas Henry Murray claimed they had built devices that could harness this cold electricity as a form of radiant energy. They claimed their machines were super efficient, non-thermal, and could even pull energy right out of the vacuum or the ether. They showed off demos where lights were powered without wires heating up, and some even claimed the energy could pass through a person without any harm. Most of the strange effects they demonstrated can actually be explained by known physics, like electrostatic discharge or clever uses of capacitors and pulse currents. So, why does it seem cold? It all comes down to a simple physics formula you might remember from school. Power equals current squared times resistance, or P equals IR. This formula tells us how much heat is generated. If the current, which is the I in the equation, is extremely small, then the power dissipates